I hate that they do that now. I don't know how to turn that off.
That's all good.
All right. What's up, everybody? My name is Juwan Rohan, and this is the Misguided Podcast. We're intend to guide you to a better future. I'm sitting here with Alan Corey, author of House, Fire, and Real Estate Investor. How you doing, my brother?
Great to be here. Thank you so much. I'm excited to talk to you.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming up on the podcast. I believe I heard you on Bigger Pockets. And before I even finished the podcast, I was like, I got to talk to this dude. And I reached out on Twitter, and I think you responded within less than an hour. So I appreciate that and you being on top of that.
Yeah, no problem. I'm not on social media too much. So but the timing worked out great. So thanks for reaching out.
Right. I guess I got lucky. I've been getting lucky a lot lately. So, but no, thank you for coming up here. Man, you have a crazy story. You've dabbled in pretty much almost everything. And you're the author of 2 books. Correct me if I'm wrong. It could be more.
3 books.
3 books. There you go. I want to talk about everything. Let's go ahead and start from where you're from and your background, where you grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, specifically the suburbs of Georgia, and born and raised here. And just, your typical suburban life that you would, when you picture a suburb life, that was mine. And once I sort of got to college, I just knew I wanted something more. I wanted more diversity. I wanted walkability. I wanted to live the life that I saw on TV and movies. And so I found my way to New York City and spent 13 years in New York City. And that's where I love living there. It's great. But after having a few kids, I came back home to Atlanta to be closer to family.
Yeah. What college did you go to?
I went to University of Georgia.
Okay. And so what made you, so I'm assuming you went to New York after college. What made you take that leap to go to out there to New York?
So I always wanted to leave Georgia. I didn't grow up with much money, and my family didn't have much money. But I got a scholarship to the University of Georgia. But my whole goal was to get as far away as possible, just because there was this huge world out there. I wanted to explore it. I wanted to go. So my sophomore year in college, I applied for the National Student Exchange Program, which still exists amongst a lot of the universities. And what that meant is I got to go to another university within their network, but got to pay in-state University of Georgia tuition, which I was on scholarship anyway. So that would have been free, and I get to go somewhere else as long as someone else from that college applied to go to University of Georgia. And
what is this program called? I'm going to write it down. What's this program?
It's called the National Student Exchange Program. And so every university or college that has this typically has some sort of fashion of this, but this was the biggest one, that National Student Exchange Program. So I applied for the 3 furthest universities away from my home, which was the University of Washington, University of Hawaii, and University of Oregon. So my sophomore year, I was able to go to the University of Oregon. Someone from Oregon got to go to the University of Georgia. And that was great. That was just a completely different experience. East Coast, West Coast. I always explain, like, Georgia, everyone's just drink beer. Oregon, everyone's like sipping craft beers, but they're doing drugs. But so as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, that was like the whole new world to me. Like, what? The people on the West Coast live completely different lives than the East Coast.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, I just wanted to travel and just be around diversity. And so when I graduated college, it was either I also had dreams to be a stand-up comedian, an actor, be in television. So it was LA or New York. And I was able to find a job in New York first. So I ended up there.
What was your first job in New York?
I majored in computers in university, not because I had any interest in computers. My roommate's older brother said, "Hey, if you want a 6-figure job, major in computers." Now this was in 1990.
I was just about to say, kind of perfect timing for computers.
Yeah, right. And so my first job in New York City was tech support for a software company, but I was terrible at it because it wasn't my interest. It wasn't my passion. And I didn't enjoy it. I wanted to entertain and I wanted to be, do all these things, but it got me to New York. And so I credit it for that.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to find something to just get you to finding your passion. It takes a while to find it, but sometimes you might have to take a detour of like what you don't even think you ever thought you would do. You probably never imagined yourself doing tech, right? But that, like you said, got you in New York, which then opened you up to a whole different environment of comedians, of actors. They're like, whoa, like, you know what I mean? So sometimes you have to just take that jump. So, okay, you're in tech support, and you realize this isn't your passion. So what are you doing? How are you searching?
Well, also I knew I wanted to do comedy. So my day job was 9 to 5 tech support, but then I was in the comedy clubs till 3:00 in the morning every night. Just not getting any sleep, just bouncing between, but I needed to pay the bills, and comedy does not pay any bills whatsoever.
Music doesn't either. So
right. Yeah, I got paid in laughs, and that my landlord doesn't take laughs. But so I was like, how do I? But also I knew if I'm not going to break out as a comedian or a comedy writer or all these dreams I had, a performer, if it wasn't my full-time gig, right? Because my concentration is split half my full, my waking hours are split at tech support and comedy. So I bought, this is before really every podcast existed and all this sort of YouTube. So I bought every single book that I possibly could, went to the library, checked every single book out, personal finance, wealth building, stocks, real estate, because I knew nothing about finances. And I was like, I'm just going to educate myself. And when you're in New York City, you are just surrounded by wealth. Like, you just look around and people are going to the Hamptons and taking helicopters and the glassy, sexy buildings. And I'm like, how do you get there? Like, I was living in the projects. I was living in the projects of Spanish Harlem. And,
I was going to say, you're surrounded by wealth, but you're also surrounded by the projects and homeless people.
Right.
Like everything.
And so I was like, there's this disconnect. Like, how do I get there? So I didn't have mentors. I didn't have any rich people in my life. I only knew like 2 people in New York City when I first moved there. And so I just devoured, and I was like, I'm going to learn. Like, these people learn how to do money. These people learned how to invest. I was probably too naive to understand that maybe they came from connected families or, had, coaching and people in their life, that podcasts like this that really kind of lifted them up, so I just learned as much as I could. And what I gravitated to mostly was real estate. It just made sense to me. I could never really grasp stocks and values and bonds and value, growth bonds and whatever, value bonds. And it just didn't seem exciting because I didn't have any control. It was like, I'm buying stock in a company.
And you're just hoping.
Yeah. I'm just hoping. Like, this guy, I don't know if he's a good CEO. Like, he does good press releases, right? Yeah. But that's crafted by the PR department.
Also, he could get fired tomorrow. So
yeah, right. And I couldn't go in there and say, fire this terrible customer support guy and hire this or whatever. Like, I had no control. So I feel like buying lottery tickets, whatever. But with real estate, it made sense because I've lived in a house, I've lived in an apartment. I understand that if I fix up the kitchen, it's going to be worth more money. It just was easy for me to understand. And so I just kept reading more and more real estate books. And then my plan was, if I just buy, one property a year, I'm going to save up all my money and buy one property a year, and I can rent that out. Probably in 5 years, I could leave my day job and I could just be a landlord. And with that landlord, I can make my own schedule. I can focus on comedy, and then I can fix the toilets or change the light bulbs when, outside of that. But at least I could have my own sleeping schedule that makes sense. And I could just focus, 99% of my time on comedy and only 1% on this landlord stuff. But the math just seemed to be, I needed 5 properties. So I was like, 1 property a year for 5 years, and then I could do comedy full time. And so I just put every dollar that I could into saving for that property. And that meant I had a $50,000 salary. And I lived off $19,000 of that a year, so that I could invest $31,000, so I could save $31,000. And so I lived off. I was already.
That is a grind.
It was a grind, but I had a vision, and I was like, I just need to do this for 5 years. Do this for 5 years. I was in my 20s, 22, 23. I mean, all of my other friends that no one had money. It wasn't like we were, we still went to bars. And I would just order water or soda or drink before I went. Like I didn't say no to things. I just didn't spend money on things, or eat at home, ramen noodles for 13 cents and then go out to dinner with my friends and just sort of, be there for the atmosphere. Right. But I had a vision. I was like 5 years, that's my exit clause. Cause I just hated my job. It wasn't that the job was bad. I just hated working for someone else. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And so that first year I saved up $10,000 and I was like, that's it. 10,000. I've never had this much money before. I've got $10,000. Let's go buy a property. And I'm sitting, looking up listings in the projects in Spanish Harlem. And I was like, this is a 10% down payment on $100,000 property. And nothing is in $100,000 in New York City. Even back then, this was early 2000s. But I found one property in Brooklyn that was $110,000. And I said, this is the closest thing I've seen to $100,000. I'm buying this property. I don't care. I've never been to Brooklyn before. I am buying this property because I have no other options. And I knew I wanted to buy a property right then because the sooner I bought a property, the sooner I could start saving for my second property next year. And so I didn't want to just drag this out in a whole year waiting for properties because then my whole plan would get out of whack. I had 5 years, 5 properties. Anyway, so I show up and there's Brooklyn at the time was not the Brooklyn that it is now. There's, a guy passed out on the front doorsteps. He's asking me for money. He's asking me, am I a cop? And then, I don't know what the right answer is. Do you want me to be a cop? Do you not want me to be a cop? What kind of neighborhood is this? Are you guys pro cops or bad cops? Yeah. I don't know. And long story short, I ended up getting that property. I negotiated him down to $99,600. And I put my 10% down and I was able to acquire my first property. And then I just kept that hustle up for 5 more years and then went from there.
So this first property, you lived in with your buddies, right?
Well, the first one was a 1-bedroom apartment. Okay. And so I turned it into a 2-bedroom apartment. There's I found this by default, but now it's a very popular strategy called house hacking, which is you live in your house, you buy a primary residence and you rent out your spare rooms, or maybe you buy a duplex, live in one unit and you rent out the other units. But for this, I bought a property. It was a 1-bedroom and I turned it into a 2-bedroom. I just hung this very, very heavy curtain and fabric. That's all I could afford. And I said, hey, this living room is now a bedroom. Yeah, 2-bedroom. And so I found a roommate, a friend of mine, and her rent covered my mortgage payment. So all of a sudden I bought my first place and I'm like, oh, I feel broke. And then all of a sudden, wait a minute, I don't have any housing payments anymore because I have a roommate who's paying for my mortgage. And then light bulbs went off and I'm like, oh, wow, I've already, the most expensive bill in everyone's life is their housing payment, whether it's rent or mortgage. Most of your paycheck goes to that.
And cars.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Thankfully, in New York City, I was a subway bus guy, but cars is big too. But so I was like, wait a minute, now I can save even more money. I just got rid of my housing payment. So next year, when I buy that second property, I had $25,000 saved up instead of $10,000.
Snowball effect.
Yeah. And then I bought a duplex where it's all a bunch of comedians.
That's okay. The 6 comedians in one house.
Yeah. 6 comedians. We called it the House of Clowns.
Yeah.
And I charged them each about $600 each. And then that covered all my mortgage, all my utility, all my property taxes, all my home insurance. Plus I was profiting $2,000 across the 2 properties. So I was living in my own house, getting paid to live in my own house. I had no housing expenses and I was making $2,000 a month in cash flow, which is what I was making at my day job. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, this is way more profitable. I love doing this real estate. I don't want to do comedy anymore. I'm just going to focus on real estate. I was like, I'm going to make my money doing this. And then I'm going to just have all this time in the world. And then if I want to go back to comedy, I can, or whatever I want to go travel. So
I want to talk about that. Did your obviously your passion for comedy didn't just disappear, but it was kind of blinded by all the money you were making and the financial freedom that you found within real estate. So what made you just say, all right, I need to step back from comedy and really dig into this real estate. I need to not spread myself so thin.
I think it was because I wasn't in control of my own destiny. Because for comedy, my strength was writing, not necessarily performing.
Yeah.
But to get noticed as a writer, you got to go perform, and then to get noticed as a performer, you have to get an agent. But to get an agent just has to, give me money, or they you need to be on the right, stage at the right time, and so it was all. My whole comedy career, I was like, I need a guy to meet me, introduce me to another guy, and I need a guy to watch me at this, at this club, at this night. Like, it was all just sort of serendipitous. Like, who's going to show up, and hopefully Lauren Michaels is in the audience today, or whatever. And so
it's like you can't control something. You can't make an agent be there on 9:20. Yes, I'm going to be performing. But with real estate, you can do that. It's like, hey, you know what I mean? Like,
right. I was controlling my own life. I wanted control of my own life. Yeah. And that's what I didn't like about any day job, was they were controlling my life. They were telling me what meetings to be at and what time I had to be there and how I had to dress. And I was like, no, I want to be in control of my own life. Comedy, I thought I was in control of my own life, but but to make money, I was at the whims of all these people that I don't know. And just, and so real estate, I had complete control.
It's almost kind of like the opposite, like with like any industry, right? Music, comedy, whatever. In the beginning, you have to work extremely hard. You have to be in control of everyone else has to control you to get to the point to where you can control them. For example, let's take Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, right? Just a few that people know. They had to really grind and be controlled by, other agents, by being at a place at the right time, right? They had to sleep in their car just to get to where they are now, and they can point where they want people to go. With real estate, it's like, no, your first property, you're in control. Everyone listens to you because that house is under your name.
Right. 100%. Right. 100%. Yeah. It's like, those are good examples. I was performing with Kevin Hart when no one knew who he was. And, but if you're a natural talent like him or Dave Chappelle, you're going to rise to the top. The right people are going to notice. I was not that natural.
I was going to say, I saw a couple of Kevin Hart's older performances on YouTube, right? When he was like 18 years old or whatever. And I'm wondering if that's the same time you were out there.
Yeah, I was out there from 2001 to 2014, but I was only doing comedy to about 2008, 2009. So the crew that got popular at my age was like Nick Kroll. I was performing a lot with him, Aziz Ansari, that crowd. Yeah.
Dude, they just released Master of None season 2.
That's right. I saw that. Yeah,
I have to watch it. I was going to watch it last night, but I'll probably watch it this week. That's cool. That's super cool. So, you said you stopped doing comedy in 2008, and you bought that first property, in the early 2000s, but then, we had obviously the worst housing market in the world in 2008. So what happened with those properties that you had?
Yeah. So, what I've learned is that you have to disassociate real estate investing with primary residence buying, because with primary residence buying, you're typically have to sell regardless of what the market is, because you're getting married, getting divorced, you have a kid, you're moving across country. Like, you just have to sell, and I hope the market's up, or I hope the market's not down. But with real estate investing is, I buy a property, I get a fixed 30-year mortgage. So my expenses are going to be fixed for 30 years. I know what my insurance is going to be. I know what my property taxes roughly is going to be. But I know what my mortgage payment, which is the majority of it, is going to be fixed. And New York City is, if you have a decent house, you're always going to have it rented. There's no rental vacancies in New York City very often, because there's 8 million people living on the island or whatever in Manhattan. And so you don't go vacant very long. So because, let's say, you have a $500,000 place in anywhere, this is not in New York City, and the housing values dropped to $350,000. If you were renting that out for $3,000, you're still renting it out for $3,000. The rent doesn't drop to $1,500 in a housing crash. If anything, there's a housing crash, people lose their homes and it creates more renters. And so there's even higher rate, demand. And so as a real estate investor, I get to control when I sell. I've got a tenant in there who's renting it at all times. And if the market's down, then I hold it and keep renting it. If the market's up, I can choose to sell if I want to. I don't have to, but I get to choose when I'm buying or selling as a real estate investor, which is completely different than when you're buying a primary residence. And a lot of people kind of lose their money that way.
I don't think anyone's ever explained it like that. That's like the difference between the primary and investment during a real estate crisis. Wow, that's great detail. I that's my first time hearing that's my first time hearing that in that type of way. I've always known it, right? I've always understood real estate, but I've never heard someone say it like that. So.
People always I'm a realtor in Atlanta and a real estate investor, and people are always like, hey, I want to buy a house. Will this make me money? And I always have to have the conversation. I say, listen, your primary residence is not real estate investing for the reasons I just said, but also the things that make you the most money on real estate investing, you don't want to live. Like you want to buy the house for cheap that no one else, that they can't sell, but you can rent it. You want the house where someone's just going to rent it for a year while they get their act together, or a year while they're finishing up college and they're moving on and you get a new tenant. That's going to make you way more money than a place that you want to live in. Because the place you want to live in, you're going to pay a little bit extra because of the school districts. You're going to pay a little bit extra because of the coffee shops. You're going to pay a little bit extra because it's safe, right? And that takes away money out of profit, right? So you're buying something that is your lifestyle. That's a lifestyle decision. That's not a financial decision. Real estate investing is completely different. I don't care if the house is sexy. I don't care if it's safe. Is it sexy on a spreadsheet? Then I'm buying it. I don't have to live there, but there are people at different stages of life who that neighborhood works for them at right now. That's all they can afford. And they want something that's going to not, be consistent. There's a roof over their head. I want to take good care of it. But that's where I'm going to make way more money than buying in a Tony developed area and either for myself or to rent out. That's just the economics of real estate investing.
Well said, Alan. Well said. I like that. Definitely. So I want to move on to a segment called the Hella Misguided segment, where I ask the same question throughout every episode. What would you tell yourself in a letter to your 18-year-old self? What would a summary be?
Yeah, well, so that is actually my first book. So my first book is called $1 Million by 30, which I wrote for people graduating high school, graduating college, and not knowing anything about finances. Because I was in that position, like I said earlier, where I knew nothing, but everyone else seemed to have knowledge about money. So I wrote that entire book for that 18 to 24-year-old who just learning about money. Like, what's a 401k? What do I ask the HR department? What is a IRA? How do I even buy a house in real estate investing? So that is a letter to myself. And because I've come from a comedy writing background, I try to make it entertaining. I try to make it funny. All my books are the same way, and that this is written for people who don't care about money, but I make it enjoyable. I make it a story. I make it something where they're like, oh, I actually learned something, but I liked reading, what it was that made me laugh out loud at the same time. Yeah.
Maybe I should have hired you to write my book then.
No, I hear your book's doing great. So, you know what you're doing. Yeah.
Cool. So you said it was primarily for 18-year-old to 24-year-old. What if I'm 29 and want to read it? Can I make $1 million by 30?
Well, no, but you can by 40. By 40. Okay. Like nothing I sell is get rich quick. But a day seems really short, but a decade seems really long. So if you hit like mine, I had a 5-year plan and I was a millionaire in 5 years. So but that is, I'm not expecting everyone to replicate my success, because the market went up and the market went down. Brooklyn became a hot new thing. The Brooklyn Nets moved there. All my properties doubled in value. I got a little lucky, but as a 25-year-old who owned 3 or 4 properties, none of my other friends were doing that. So was I lucky? No, I had a plan, and I was executing on my plan. I had a 10-year plan. I was able to accomplish it in 5 years. So if you're 29, you buy my book, $1 Million by 30, maybe by 39, you'll be there. And then I've got 2 other books, if you don't mind me mentioning it, that are on the same plane.
No, we were going to talk about it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so so there was a real estate market crash. I sort of I had to, like, I had already quit comedy. And so I had to reinvent myself. And I was like, okay, I need to resurrect my career that I left as tech support, but I hated tech support. And so my second book is called The Subversive Job Search. And what it was is how I created a 6-figure career. I got up to $130,000 salary in 2 years by reinventing myself, reverse engineering job postings. I would take all the job postings of where I wanted to be in 5 years. I like these 5-year plans. Where do I want to be in 5 years? Let's pull up everything on LinkedIn who has this title. What certifications do they have? What experience do they have? And then I threw it all into like a word cloud online. And the word cloud just makes the words that are repeated more often stand out really big. And it would be like, boom, okay, I need to have those things on my resume. I need to have, that certificate. I need to have 2 years of that experience. Boom, boom, boom. And then I just went out and got it. And you can get experience so well using Upwork or Fiverr or something like that. You quote unquote are an entrepreneur, starting your own business. It doesn't matter what your skill set is. But if I was like, I need 2 years of project management. So I just went on Upwork and got 2 years of project management by just accepting every project management job on there for like $1. Like I'll do it for free. I just need experience because I need to put this on my resume. Yeah. And so I just had all these strategies to reinvent myself. So if you're on that 9 to 5, you want to know how to negotiate a higher salary, when to leave your job, how to job hop, how to make yourself, people would, every time I quit, I got recruited back in. Oh, we'll pay you double. We'll pay you more. We'll pay you more. And I'm like, no, I'm moving over here. And so it's all that's the second book, how to really, if you have that 9 to 5 job, how to really kind of grow your career and your income.
I think that's very important too, especially right now when everyone is going back to work and getting those 9 to 5s and people are hiring at, very quick speeds. I think that book is something that can definitely help a lot of listeners.
And then, that's for like that 25, 35, early to mid career sort of reader who's like, hey, they're settled in their job and they're like, what's next? That's sort of that thing. Yeah.
Yep. Most definitely. I want to talk about your other book, House Fire, that was recently released. I believe 2 months ago or when was it?
About 3 weeks ago, House Fire came out. Yeah. And FIRES, if you don't know, stands for Financial Independence and Retire Early.
My question was, so when I heard it come out, I looked on Audible and it wasn't there, man. What happened? Why is it not on Audible yet?
It will be next week. The guy who recorded it mispronounced all the real estate words. So he was calling HELOCs, Helix. And so I got to get him to re-record some of it.
You got him on Fiverr?
Right. He did an audiobook experience. So I've had to record parts of it. So that'll be out next week. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll definitely be, I was going to buy it 3 weeks ago, but then I was like, man, I don't have time to sit down to read. Like, obviously we talked about how busy I am. So like, I can listen in the car while I'm driving and stuff. So I'll definitely be purchasing next week. Cool. That's cool, man. So let's talk about that book a little bit because, FIRE has been around since I want to say the early 2000s. I want to talk about the difference between FIRE and House Fire.
Yeah. Okay. So FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early. The big thing is math and figuring out your FIRE number. So what you do is you add up all your expenses and annual expenses. So what do you spend in a year? And if you multiply that by 25, that's your FIRE number. And so if you save that much money in checking, savings, stocks, mutual funds, IRAs, then there's something called the 4% rule where you just withdraw 4% of that and it'll cover your expenses and you can retire early and be financially independent. So what I don't like about that is it requires you basically save up $1 million before you can retire. And that's going to take 30, 40 years. Like, how are you retiring early, to save up $40,000? So I found a shortcut, and it's still not get rich quick, but it's faster than that method. So one example that I use is, let's just take, instead of all your annual expenses, let's just take one expense, $150 internet bill.
Which also, by the way, before you even start, this is like one of my favorite things. When I heard you break it down, I had already had this in my mind of what I wanted to do.
Oh, good.
So I love this. Right. I'm excited. Okay. Go ahead.
All right, good. Well, so let's just take one bill, $150 internet bill. You multiply that by 12 12 months, you're spending $1,800 a month, or I'm sorry, a year, $1,800 a year on internet. And for the rest of your life, how are you going to escape your internet bill? That's probably going to follow you for life. You can't buy internet in bulk. I can't go to Costco and say, I want a discount on the internet for lifetime supply. That's just a bill that's going to follow me for life.
And probably get more expensive.
Yeah, probably get more expensive. Right. So the FIRE method is, save up 25 times at $1,800, which is $45,000. And so you save $45,000, you put in mutual funds, and then you pull out 4% of that every year to pay that $150, $1,800 a year of internet bill. My way of doing it is, hey, don't save up $45,000. Save up $20,000. Let's just save half that, maybe $25,000.
If that, yeah.
If that, right. And then you go buy a rental property for $100,000. And you don't have to live in you might be in New York, you might be in San Francisco, California. I can't find something that's $100,000. Those houses exist out there. There's property managers who's going to take care of it for you. There's money to be made. Remote investing, you don't have any headaches. The property manager handles everything for you. So a lot of people are like, $100,000 homes aren't where I'm at. You don't have to be. I work with clients in California, buying in Georgia all the time. But these all the middle of America states, you can buy $100,000 houses. That being said, save up $20,000, buy a house that's $100,000 or less, and you'll paying the property manager to handle everything, you'll probably still cash flow $150 a month. So with $20,000, I bought a house, property manager manages it. I don't have any calls. I don't have any headaches. I just get a check deposited in my account every day. After the mortgage is paid off, I get $150. That $150 has now bought me internet for the rest of my life. It took me half the price. And so I bought a cash flowing asset that pays for the internet. And then I just went through every single bill and did that. Okay, my phone bill, $100, my electric bills, $50. All right, that's another $150. Just save up $20,000. Let me go buy another house. That house pays off that bill. And then after 5 houses, all my bills were covered for. And the thing is once you buy that first house, so people are like, well, I can't save up $100,000. But when you buy that first house, you save up that first $20,000. Buy that first house, it's faster to save up for your second house because you already have one house that's paying for one of your bills. And then when you buy that second house,
and you have equity.
And you have equity. Yeah.
By the time you get to wanting to purchase the other one.
Yeah, right. And so I am investing because typically a house will appreciate 3% a year. So in 10 years, that $100,000 house is going to be $133,000. So I took $20,000, put it on a $100,000 house that paid my internet for life. Fast forward 10 years, I still have free internet. And my house is worth $133,000. So I've almost doubled my money. I've invested $20,000 and now it's made me $33,000. Yeah. And so it's just it's get rich slow, but you have to start right away. Like buy the house. So maybe that's in the letter to that 18-year-old me, buy a house as soon as you can, because the payoffs are down the road. And to get on that, to receive those payoffs earlier, you got to start earlier.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that goes with anything. And even if you're investing in stocks, you got to start early, right? It's not a get rich quick scheme. I mean, unless you're just a crypto billionaire over here, but but it's none of it. It's all time. Time is like the most important thing in any investing, and that's great.
And this is what I've learned about what wealthy people do. Like I learned this eventually, and I'm 43 now. So wealthy people don't go buy a Tesla. Let's say a Tesla is $40,000. Poor people, poorly educated, financially educated people will go buy a Tesla. Here's $40,000. Congrats, Elon Musk. Take my money. Wealthy people say, well, how much is a Tesla payment for a 40? Oh, it's $500. Okay. I'm going to take my $40,000. I'm going to go buy a cash flowing asset. I'm going to buy a house in all cash for $40,000 that spits off $500 to pay for my Tesla. So I'm not giving my money to Elon. I'm giving my money to myself by buying a house that I own. That house is then paying for that Tesla. And so you do that for every bill in your life, every toy you want in your life, everything you want. You just buy a property, cash flowing. This is what House Fire is all about. Buy a property that pays for whatever you want in your life. And again, like you said, it pays off. The earlier you start, the bigger the rewards down the line.
Yeah, that literally Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about that all the time. About how you should buy asset first to pay for your liabilities. And then I remember specifically in your conversation about the Tesla with Brandon Turner. Right. But he had went and purchased like a Hawaii condo to pay for his Tesla for his wife or something like that.
Right.
So that's just extremely funny and very true. Maybe I should write a book called Car Fire, because I pretty much did the same thing with car rental business, right? So just to break it down a little bit, I started buying cars 4 years ago and renting them out on a platform called Turo, right?
Turo.
Yeah, built up a fleet. And pretty much how I saw it was like, okay, obviously there's tax benefits on depreciation, but I see my bills being paid every month. I see my tolls to cross the bridges in the Bay Area being paid every month. I see my phone bill. I need the phone to have the app. Phone bills being paid every month.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now I have 2 bills that are being paid by one car. Cool. Let me go get another car. Okay.
Yep.
Now I have what else? Internet. Need internet to access the app. Now my internet's paid, right?
Yep. Right.
The life of the car or whatever. And then it just kept going and going. And I just kept buying more cars, realizing how much I am saving from not taking out of my W-2 paycheck.
Right.
And I was like, now I have my W-2 paycheck, and now I have like more money to spend and save and invest, right? And throw into music career, podcasting, clothing, right? Yeah, Car Fire. Might have to write that book.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Cool. No, I love it, man. I love it. I do want to talk about, we skipped over a huge thing, but I did want to wait until like the end of the episode. But your reality TV show career, man, we totally skipped over that. You were on a couple different shows, and I want to talk about that. So, like, how'd you get started in that? How was that world? Because I've also been in that world as well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, reality TV is. I wouldn't say scripted. They don't give you lines, but they try to put you in situations where it may be for entertaining purposes. So what they do is typically the way they cast is they'll go get the women from the modeling agencies and they'll get the men from the comedy clubs. So you're performing in comedy, then you'll be good on TV, and they'll put you in situations. So I got on 5 reality shows and 1 game show. The bigger ones were, I was made over in season 1 of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, as being a real estate investor. They came and made over my house. But I was also at the same time filming a show called The Restaurant with Rocco DiSpirito, which is this high-end Manhattan restaurant. They were filming the behind the scenes, what it's like. And I was a waiter and a food runner on that show. And I didn't realize this at the time, but they aired on the same network at the same back-to-back. They were on NBC and Bravo, both of them. And so it would be 1 hour of me as a food runner, just like making dollars and tips and stuff, and then immediately followed by me being a real estate investor in New York, which I was doing. I was buying property, and so I got a lot of hate mail. People were like, "This guy's a liar. This is a liar." But to be fair, I didn't make money being on Queer Eye. They renovated my home and gave me furniture and clothes, which was great. But the money I was being paid on the restaurant was actually the money on the food tips. The reality TV, the TV production company wasn't giving me any money.
Did you not get a royalty percentage every time it was aired or something, like till this day?
No, to this day, no. And so that's how the reality TV is successful, because it's so cheap to make, because no one gets paid. And that's why now every time you watch a reality TV show, it's a commercial. Like every Real Housewife has an album coming out or a cookbook coming out, or they're doing something, because they're not getting paid. They're getting paid to be like you have an audience and a following. Let's sell them something. And so I was making that's added into my sleep. I was working 9 to 5. Then I was working in this restaurant as a reality show, and then I was going to the comedy clubs. So I was just not sleeping at all. But I was like, well, this will get me. This will help open doors in my comedy career. This will do that. Like maybe the agents aren't coming to my shows. Maybe they'll see me on Queer Eye, but then when or see me on the restaurant. And then what happens is like, oh, Alan, we need you to act like a buffoon. Will you fall down the stairs and drop the tray everywhere? And be like, oh man, so, and then I felt bad for Rocco because I respect entrepreneurs. I like that he's going out doing his own thing. And then it's like, oh, the TV company wants me to drop all the plates of lobster or whatnot. And, so yeah.
Did you drop the plates?
I declined. And they got someone else to do it instead. So
yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, cool. So so you've been on how many TV shows total?
It was 5 total reality shows, 1 game show. I'm trying to think one was Blind Date, which was like
I saw that the commercial, the link.
Yeah. It was some dating show. And then it was, the game show was Chain Reaction, which was, on the Game Show Network, which if you want to get on game shows, no one's applying for those shows. And so it's easy to get on, especially if you live in New York. Trying to think of all the other shows. It's been 15 years, but my reel's on YouTube. If you go to the House of AC, you can check it out there.
Great. You had long hair too, I believe.
I had dreadlocks. Well, yeah. I saw Jerry Springer. That's it. The big one was, I made up a story, got on Jerry Springer, and that's a big one. Yeah, that's the
one I remember. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been on reality TV. Do you see yourself having a house flipping house TV reality show?
I don't know.
I mean, flipping.
Maybe one day. It's not on my vision board. It's not like the dream I have. I think it would come naturally to me. I do that in real life. I'm comfortable on TV, but I don't know. I think there's a plethora of options in that category. So maybe I need to create my own genre of real estate reality TV.
Yeah. That's what everyone's doing now. House flippers, you got everything.
I mean, it makes for good television. It's exciting. It's windfalls. People get
windfalls. And it is. I actually like looking at the shows. Like I'm super interested, and I'm like, yeah, that's fake. Like as a realtor, we know, like, no, that's for TV. But it's interesting, and it definitely keeps people in tune. So my question would be, what's your 5-year goal now? Right now, you said you're 43 years old, right? Looking good, man. Looking good.
Yeah. Well, kind of. We'll see. I've got fatter cheeks these days.
That's because you're always smiling, man. They're swollen.
I wanted to be fat, happy, and rich. So I think I've accomplished all those at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
But, maybe 5 years. I want to probably really grow my business in the commercial real estate space. I have over 100 units in the residential real estate space. So I'm always trying to push myself and grow my portfolio. So I think I'm going to do a lot more investing, commercial, strip malls, warehouses, things like that. That's sort of exciting me now. I'm at a new price point where I can do that. That's a little bit tougher for beginners, but I started with $10,000 buying a $100,000 property,
15 years ago.
I guess 20 years later. 20 years now. I bought my first property at 22, 23, 43 now. And now I don't look at any, I'm only investing in properties over $1 million. So, like I said, set 4 or 5 year plans, that's 20 years. You could be where I'm at, where I started with zero, without contacts, without anything. And everything I learn, I put in my books because I want other people to learn, and my books don't make me any money. I make no money on my books, but I'm happy to do it. I enjoy.
Me neither. I don't either.
Yeah. But, I mean, they sell, but I don't know where the money goes. It doesn't come back to me.
I still haven't got paid like 2 months ago.
Right.
But it's okay. It's okay. No, that I just want to thank you for coming up here, man. You shed a lot of light for the audience. The way I like to wrap up the episode is with a segment called Guided Conclusions, where I just ask a question that we haven't talked about previously before recording. It could be funny, serious, anything. But today's question is, what's important to you now? In the beginning of the episode, you mentioned that you are a family man, or that you have a wife and kids. So what's important to you now?
Yeah. Well, you took that answer right out of my mouth. I mean, I've learned that, I've got 3 kids, and what real estate and house fire has afforded me is time, which is more important to me as I get older than money. Time is more important. The time that I can spend with them, I can go to the games and the rehearsals and the graduations and whatnot. That is what's important to me. So by freeing up my time, it's all I want right now, and to spend it with my kids, because I know once they leave the house, they're not going to want to hang out with me. I want to be, no one wants to hang out with their parents when they're older, really, but now they're forced to, because they live under my house. So I want to make the most of it and make it enjoyable.
How old are they? What are their names? Shout them out if you don't mind. You don't have to.
Yeah, sure. Zane is 11, Niall is 8, and Ellis is 4. And so we got Ellis. Yeah. Ellis is my daughter. And then Niall and Zane are my sons.
I love the names, all 3, but Niall and Zane was going to be it was like a top 7 of ours. My son's name is Zakai.
I love it. Yeah. I wanted a unique letter.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
And I have a baby. I was going to say, I have a baby girl on the way, and her name's Valentina.
Oh, congrats. That's awesome. Yeah. Alan is the nerdiest name out there. Every time there's an Alan on TV, it's got like tape on his glasses and he's fumbling around. And I was like,
you have 2 first names, Corey, too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Alan, Corey. Yeah. So I was like, just give a unique name, because everyone's going to call you Corey, because no one remembers Alan, but everyone calls me Corey. So I felt like if I give my kids unique first names, then they'll remember their names.
Also, I like AC. Like AC just sounds cool. You feel me? It sounds cool.
Yeah.
You're the cool dad.
Well, so my friends call me AC, and all my social media channels are the House of AC, but it's not cool because people call me AC because of AC Slater from Saved by the Bell, which was popular when I was a kid. But whatever, the House of AC, I'll take it. I'll go by AC. It's better than Alan Corey. Yeah.
Speaking of social media, make sure you follow Alan Corey at everything at the House of AC.
You got it.
So. Yeah, definitely was going to ask you to shout out that. Hey, but I thank you, man. We're going to wrap up. It was a great episode. Thank you for sharing.
This was fun.
Story.
Yeah, keep me updated. Yeah, and then let me know what's going on in your life. Congrats on the new one on the way. And I know you got big things in front of you. You've accomplished so much in such a short amount of time. So I see a little bit of me in you and in your hustle. So I'm encouraging you every step of the way.
I appreciate it.
I'll let you know when that audiobook is available.
Most definitely. Well, this is the Misguided Podcast. We intend to guide you to a better future. My name is Juwan. I'm sitting here with Alan Corey. Make sure you like and subscribe and go hit that follow. Thank you, everybody.